so over time, these guidelines just grow and grow and grow, and also over time, as a society, our expectations change, and things that we once thought should never be public, all of a sudden we become okay with. So it's a never-ending series of infinitely branching debates. And I think it speaks to the difficulty of the job in moderating it, but also of writing the rules in the first place, right? Traditionally we have had systems of law to make these decisions about what is allowed and not allowed. In the United States, obviously we have free speech protections. Facebook's, I think, content moderation guidelines were written in the spirit of the First Amendment to maximize the amount of speech, but it's a global network, and most countries do not have the First Amendment, and so it's just been a really chaotic time for the company as it tries to apply this one global standard in places that are not always very receptive to it.
Can you think of an example when the rules changed, like in the course of one day, about what was acceptable and what wasn't for posting?
So there was this phenomenon that Facebook was seeing of young girls saying to each other something like, I love this hoe, short for hooker. And Facebook's guidelines have traditionally said that you can't call somebody a hooker. But then they realized, after getting a lot of angry feedback, that these girls were actually speaking positively of their friends, and that somehow what had been an insult was now a compliment. And so one day a switch was flipped, and all of a sudden it was now okay to say, I love you, ho.
And was it context? Like, did you have to figure out what the context was if you were a content moderator, whether this was a term of affection or whether it was intended as an insult?
That's exactly right. And so, think about this. You're a moderator. You don't know these people. You're looking at one sentence and maybe a couple of comments underneath it, and now it's your job to decide whether, Susie likes Jenny or not. It's very difficult.
Okay. So an example that I read about in terms of content moderation is a post that said autistic people should be sterilized. It was not taken down because autistic people aren't a protected group. What does that mean?
So Facebook uses a standard similar to a U.S. legal standard where certain classes of people are protected. So, race is a great example, a classic example of a protected class. You're not allowed to say, all members of this race are bad. Autism, though, was not considered a protected class. And so if you wanted to say something that most of us would find really offensive, like all autistic people should be sterilized, Facebook would just leave that up in the name of